Hello there. I'm Wolf. Oh boy, this is a rough start, but well, this wasn't exactly scripted or anything. But I'm doing a Helldivers to enemy tier list plus structures, and I'm joined by some lovely company.
Hello, you may call me Malif, and I've been here a while with Helldivers, so I'm here to provide some additional insight into hows and whys.
Yep. For the both of us, for now they have been here since day one when Helldivers 2 and are even a first Galactic War veteran. I, on the other
Mhm.
hand, am a week two Helldivers 2 player.
And we've been here all the while. So, let's begin.
It, Starting with, we're going to explain what all these tiers mean because this isn't the normal format.
Mhm. So, we have more please, which is simply put, more please. We would like more enemies like this. They are actually fun to fight, and they're underserved as a niche. So, if it's up here, we want more of them.
Enjoyable means that, well, that these enemies are really fun to fight, but we feel like right now they're in a good spot. They could be. We don't think that there's anything more that could be done, and we think they're fine as their own additions.
Then move on to passable. Yeah, they're okay to fight. There might be some minor tweaks to make, but all in all, if you're fighting them, you're not necessarily going to be having a bad time. You just might have an occasional annoyance about them. But, could be worse. It's passable.
Then we have tolerable. These are enemies that are neither fun to fight, but you don't really hate them either. They're just there. They're white bread, basically.
Plain, maybe boring, maybe not, but, you can have them either way. And we're on to dislikable. Simply put, you don't really like fighting them. They might have some tweaks to be made to them to make them fun to fight, but all in all, you know, they're rare. They're not too egregious. They're just there.
Then we move on to unbearable. These are enemies that are absolutely dreadful to fight, and anytime you see them, you just have a little bit of a groan, and some piece of you die when you see these guys. Because fighting them is either a pain, a frustration, or just why? Why would you do this?
hmm And on to no more. Simply put, like the name says, no more of these, please. The I could tolerate the game losing content if these things were gone from this list down there.
And now, this tier maker is updated to as a time of recording the most current content drop for Helldivers 2. This being Control Group Warbond.
Uh-huh. And assuming Arrowhead haven't shadow dropped something during the time we've recorded this is possible.
They've done it before. They've hidden things from us. They've always have.
What are you talking about? The Shriekers were always known.
Oh, you say that.
So, let's actually get on with the list then. Let's start off with the bugs.
It's,
Pretty much everyone's first introduction to Helldivers, the bugs, aka Verterminids, for those of you who actually know the name. They're a melee faction, simply put. They have a lot of melee units, occasional range units in the form of Bios Titans, Biospheres, etc. But most of the time, they're trying to get up and close to your face. So, what's first?
First up is the Scavenger. The lowly Scavenger. The basic bug.
Honestly, passable. Like, they don't really need anything special. It's just, it would be nice that if they came in more numbers at lower difficulties.
It's yeah, because like the main thing about scavengers is that they are the fodder enemy. They go down in one shot typically. You can melee them to death. It'll take like a bit, but it's
It
doable.
might take one or two swings, but yeah, they'll die quickly enough in melee.
So overall, they're not too. They don't stand out too much because you're usually cutting these things down by the dozens. And if you get killed by a scavenger, that is an extremely rare circumstance, and you were likely hammered down by something else.
Mm. Next up is the Leaper, a scavenger variant.
And these are also the start of the the pouncer line, which includes things like the leapers, the hunters, and the stalkers.
Because they tend to leap out at you and rather to close the distance rather than simply waddle their way over there on their many spindly little legs.
These guys are actually kind of adorable, you gotta admit.
They would make an excellent blush. So all in all, enjoyable. They change up the scavengers just enough to be more notable to fight because sometimes they'll leap at you and close the distance, but they're not obnoxious about it.
They can't. They always leap, but they are almost always short of actually reaching you with their leap. Reflecting the fact that they are still pretty young, all things considered.
Mm.
But
Next
then,
up is hunters, I do believe.
yes, it is. These are just the grown-up leapers, and they are almost certainly a pain in a higher difficulty because these bastards spawn in more numbers. Their leap can reach you, meaning they get instant attack on you on top of that, and they deal acid damage that slows you down.
There was a reason people hated these back in the old days. But nowadays, honestly, I would call them tolerable.
And I would definitely kind of agree because at the very least, he's you don't see him to die to hunters too often anymore. Not because it is implausible, but because well, at least there isn't 40 hunters coming after you. There's still 20, however.
That's still enough that you may want to bring a machine gun or two.
And, or
Next up
people.
is the warrior.
And the warrior is the big boy scavenger, and this one will actually start racking up kills pretty regularly.
Honestly enjoyable, I think. It serves everyone's arachnid fantasies.
He's indeed. I don't like
I,
this.
te- I technically I technically argue for more pleas even, but here's the thing. I think it's more a case of we just want more warriors. We don't need anything more like the warrior, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose really if there were actually proper bug types that buff the warriors, then yeah, that'd be really interesting.
But the warrior by itself, fine. Please just respect your warrior population. They will hurt if you get too close,
Which brings us on.
regardless of if you feel the CO1 form or not.
Are you calling our audience something, Mal?
Only a specific subsection.
Yeah,
You know the type.
yeah, fair. We're moving on now to the Alpha Warriors.
I mean, basically, it's just warrior plus on higher difficulties, and nothing much more to say. It's just a color. It's just a different coat of paint, as far as I'm aware.
And I think it's also tougher, but that's about it. It's just slightly tougher than the average warrior. It doesn't technically deal more damage to the average warrior, just tougher to kill.
hmm Then we're on to bio warriors next.
As these ones I'm not so fond of, all these considered.
I mean, they're good for chain exploding each other, so they do have that redeeming quality.
They do. It can be quite satisfying to get off a chain of these bio warriors exploding, but sometimes they explode. But sometimes you may not have an option, and sometimes they get too close for comfort, and somebody pops it, or you pop it, and you die.
All in all, tolerable, I suppose. Then they're not
I'd say
too egregiously bad.
I'd say passable because as while I did describe a bad instance, it doesn't happen as often as it may sound like I'm making it out to be.
Also in general, that is just part of their design. They're meant to encourage you to keep your distance.
Yeah, good visual indicator, and the resulting explosion will remind you as to why.
Mhm.
Next up, we have
Next
the
up,
Hive Guard. This is the test for whether or not you can aim or not.
because here's the thing: medium penetration gets widespread representation because it removes the need to aim for most enemy weak points. Wherever you hit, you do damage, you stagger, etc. However, unlike with other later foes, I do think the Hive Guard is a little obnoxious in that regard, with very narrow hitboxes for the legs from the front.
And by but I think I can counter this by saying that while it's deploying its shields in the front, you can actually move around to its sides and get a pretty good shot on its legs.
Of course, we're talking the difference between a solo encounter and a team encounter here. So, in teams, I would say they're not too bad. You have the option for flanking, but if you're on your own for whatever reason, separated, running POI hunting, etc., they become a little more obnoxious.
Especially if you don't have the grenades to at least throw them off their balance.
Yeah, so I'd say passable. They
Yeah,
could be better, but they're not the worst.
exactly. But now we move on to the Brew Commander, and this thing irks me in a certain type of fashion because despite being a lesser version of the follow-up bug, I feel this thing is actually more frustrating to deal with than the Alpha Commander.
Alpha Commander, yes, which is yeah, these commanders have been around since G War 1, and yeah, they've kind of always been a bit of a menace.
Is
But
they
think the problem comes when you start having feels like you see commanders more often than warriors. I think.
it's also referring to the fact that the Brew Commanders are that when the Brew Commanders lose their head, unlike Alpha Command, it seems weird because it seems like Alpha Commanders die faster than a Brew Commander does when they lose their head.
No, they're both pretty. No, they're both the same. I think. But either way, the head loss resulting in the final charge can definitely catch you off guard if you're not careful.
And sometimes even if you are careful, it may not be enough. Because the second it reaches you, it will perform a two-strike combo that will almost certainly kill you.
All in all, tolerable, I would say.
It's tolerable. Oh, it's a reasonable step up from the warrior chain line, but I feel like the end result could be a little bit better. The Alpha Commander, though, I actually like fighting against because I feel it makes sense.
Also, Alpha Commanders can spawn their Alpha Warriors. Also, they don't spawn bug breaches, thankfully, but it's a nice way to give itself a little bit of a few little flunkies on the way to make that fight a little more interesting.
So, no, I actually like the Alpha Commander because it brings a pretty good enemy type with them as well, and well, I can't actually find a reason to hate them. Even when you blow up their heads, I feel they're actually quite manageable.
Mm-hmm. So we call this enjoyable then?
Yeah, I call it enjoyable. No, I didn't even put it higher than the Alpha. I didn't even put it higher than the Alpha Warrior.
Makes sense.
But that's all of the Terminid light. But that's all of the normal Terminid lights. Now we're moving on to their heavies.
For the most part, there's a couple lights that's still ahead.
Yeah,
But yes, the Charger. You know him, you hate him.
these guys can sneak up on you. I repeat, you can be snuck up on by a charger.
Granted, you have to be exceptionally low awareness, but yes, it happens. They don't exactly announce their presence too well, but that makes sense. You know, they charge up.
It's wait for someone to make a mod that just replaces the charger grunts with "Oh yeah" from the Kool Aid guy.
I'm pretty sure that already exists, but either way, all in all, passable. Like, you know, they are the first tough heavy armor unit you meet. They are very fast for a heavy armor unit too, but they're also melee only, so
I also point out that their speed is also their downfall because they have a lot of forward momentum, meaning that they can't really do sharp turns as well.
your best way to juke them is to literally sort of slip by a rock and let them slam into the rock.
Uh,
Keep in mind they still do have a decent turning arc on them, so it's not like you can just do it like 5 seconds. You may have to wait a second or two, but you know you can get them to slam into a rock and they'll be fine.
I don't know. I'd say like maybe the best way for like dodging them, if not doing that, is to run straight at them, but at an angle, so like, you're running somewhat perpendicular to them.
Yeah. You're basically wanting to run just past them so that they have to do a full 180-degree turn to get around to you.
Um, thankfully, they have not yet. Thankfully, they have not unlocked the ability to initial D turn.
For now, at least. We'll see what happens when the tournaments get a mobility-focused faction.
And next up, we have the Charger Behemoth. This is just a Charger with a fancier head and slightly more armor.
Here's the thing. Charger Behemoths were originally meant to be a much tougher version of the Chargers to negate, like, you know, anti-tank fire and whatnot, requiring concentrated firepower. This was back in the days where Charger spawns were through the roof. So, I honestly don't really like them at this point, if you see what I mean.
It's
Not so much because they're a bad foe to fight, but because they could be better now. They need a niche. Right now, they're just fancy a headpiece. It's a Charger that played dress up.
I mean, you gotta admit though, give them a point for trying at least.
hmm But but they do need to actually make the behemoth worthy of its name again.
For now, I'd say they're at least tolerable.
It's all a little tolerable, I would say. Yeah.
Then, but now we move on to the last for now Charger variant, the Spore Charger.
This one's a little spicy.
Are you saying that because it has that green acidic explosion to it, like the Bile Warrior?
Yeah, on a larger scale, and also the fact that it also clearly shuts down your visibility as well in a large area, so that's definitely going to make it a problem too. While you can clearly see where the charger is, you can't see where the charger isn't.
And
So, much like a missile, you're gonna have to do some guesswork.
you better hope that when you find that charger, it isn't coming at you.
All in all, dislikable, but they have a purpose. It's just an awful purpose. The Spitter, the local scavenger that learned how to do a range attack.
Like, and these guys, I mean, I also want to say these guys are kind of. I mean, okay, I'll admit these guys are also kind of adorable, but they're also mean little bastards at that.
Yeah, because after all, they can spit at you, and I honestly want to say more, please. We don't see too many light terminated range units.
It's they're pretty easy to kill because they're basically scavengers, complete with the behind that just explodes if you someone just breathe at them wrong.
So yeah, I kind of want to see more like these little spitters over here, because simply put, it would give the Terminids a new sub factor to have one that was a little more range focus.
It's somehow the Terminids learned how to use guns. Now it's just book accurate Starship Troopers.
Mm-hmm. Exactamundo. The Bile Spewer next.
It's the meaner, tougher, bigger Bile Spitter.
Especially because on high difficulties, it has an artillery mode.
Everyone's gangster until the plasma rounds are replaced with gas rounds.
I mean, it's alright, but I'm gonna be honest, they're passable. Like, they serve their purposes, like, up close, they will flamethrower you out of cover and so on and so forth. Outside of that, or with the artillery mode, they do kind of serve the area suppression role. They just don't do both particularly well.
You know, what basically hearing from you is that you do want these things, that you want them to be better at both of those things.
Or maybe have some bugs that are more specialized in those niches.
I mean, that'd be interesting to see. Basically an actual pure self faction that is all bile.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe something a little better up close, something a little better at range. We'll see. But all in all, passable.
I guess they're like maybe like the what am I about hereish?
Eh, they're better than some options, but they make a nice explosion. They will chain detonate other things. That's useful. And the nursing sphere, the one that changes out the bile for something icky, and you don't want it on you, and more or less,
It's somehow also acidic.
it's also got a bit of stealth field to it, because like Spore Charge, it releases gas, so that can obscure vision on other Terminids around them. So, but you're normally dropping explosives on Terminids like these anyways, so they'll usually get caught in either chain detonation or whatnot. So, not
Actually,
too much of a problem.
I actually consider these guys enjoyable, considering they do speak a lot about what kind of role they actually fulfill for tournaments.
Yeah, they nurse, they protect, they work.
It's yeah, I'm putting, but they're at the bottom. They're currently at the bottom of enjoyable, but they're enjoyable to fight nonetheless. As
Mm-hmm.
and now we're on to the boss of the tournaments.
The
The ones
bio,
that
yes, Biotitans, the one, the only. You saw him in the intro cinematic. More, please. We need bigger bugs.
that's back in the old days when Helldivers was a much harder game. You could see at least 20 of these things on a 9.
And your recoilless rifle did not one-shot them. At best. At best, it was a two-shot. So yeah. Next up is the Impaler, I do believe.
Yeah, it is. This is the first tournament enemy that got added. This is a tournament enemy all the way back from Helldivers 1 brought back.
And it's still the same old artillery piece it was then. It's drops three tentacles out to smack you around whilst you're done, exposing its open mouth, but that's all trick, you see. You want to actually shoot. You want to shoot with its weak back legs or the little vents, little gaps in its armor on the side to actually do damage to it. The front mouth is big, fleshy. Yeah, you can destroy it with like HE rounds and the like. But if you round behind it, just stick a thermite on its behind and be done with it.
Also, every these things were brought back into the game. They were also coincided with the swamp plant introduction, the one with the gas fence. These bastards could ignite and turn half the forest into Burning Man.
Mm-hmm. I see that swamp gas is still a problem.
And it's always been a problem, but at least it's less of a problem. And somehow the Impalers are even stealthier than the Chargers.
Mm-hmm. If there's one thing you have to give the Terminators, is that they have a very good stealth game, all things considered.
It's like getting snuck up on by hunters, except that's actually real.
Mm-hmm. all all they're passable. They are they're fun. They're a fun little spice to a combat encounter, but they're not necessarily the greatest thing in the world to fight.
Especially when there's multiple Impalers, which there can be. One bug breach might even spawn 3 of these little guys.
Big guys, you mean? They are big.
Well, yeah, they're big. They're possibly the biggest bug in the game that's not a Bile Titan.
But yeah, good to know. What's next? The Stalker.
And the first special Terminate enemy type.
You only see these when Stalker layers are on the map, and frankly, more please, because they actually give the Terminate something unique.
You don't know when Stalker's on the map until you see a Stalker on the map. And sometimes you may see 4 Stalker layers on the map and only 1 lab.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Why are we asking for more things like the Stalker? Here's the thing. Not only are they a genuinely stealthy and smart enemy to fight around, there's nothing like them for immediately changing your priorities. You immediately go for that layer when you see a Stalker because you know what happens if you leave a Stalker layer alone. There's just going to be more of them on the field, and they're sneaking around for you. Sure, they've got a little radius, but you know they make a useful area denial tool, and it's fun to break those.
And not to mention, just because you see a Stalker layer on the map doesn't mean it's the only Stalker layer on the map.
There's always that bit of paranoia you may have not got the last nest of these things, thankfully. But you know, and sometimes you just enjoy having to watch your shoulders the rest of the match.
And now we're on to the biggest lie Super Earth ever spun on the Shriekers.
Did you mean the thing that we always knew about?
That's what are you talking about?
Of course. But anyways, more of these, please. Because right now they're fairly range limited unless you get a roving shriekers modifier on your mission. But here's the thing. They do change up because you now have to look up at the sky. And oh boy, is it fun to have something that's airborne as well as groundborne. It gives you a little change in focus, shall we say.
They fly now.
They've always flown now. What are you talking about? And now we're on to Verterminid Mines. They're more a stage hazard and a really weak stage hazard at that. They just slow you down a bit. They're tolerable.
They're tolerable. I think they used to be worse on launch, but nowadays hitting a spore mine is just like, oh great, I'm just slow for a bit.
Slow for a bit, take a slight bit of damage. Nothing a stim pistol can't fix.
The worst these can make is you stepping on these, slow down, and then you just get run down by the Terminids you were trying to outrun.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we take muscle enhancement, folks.
So, next up, the Spore Spewer.
These bastards will cloud the field with their smoke, and you will not be able to see 10 feet in front of you.
Sure, it's obvious wherever you are if you've got a big open area map, like, say, a rural expedition. But here's the problem. What happens when you find these in the cities? So far, that's only a question you answer with the clear air quality missions. But it's pain. You have to search for city blocks. I don't really like these things.
Sometimes it's easy to kill these things, sometimes it's not. But no matter which way no matter which way it is, no matter which way it is, walking around blind trying to find these things, especially when they can overlap, leading you to doubt if you actually cleared the area at all.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you cleared one in a random shot, but it's still clouded. It's like, what have you done wrong?
Um, and overall, I'd say this is the first unbearable pick.
Mm-hmm. There are better choices for secondary objectives.
Yes.
So, next up is the Predator Strain and the Predator Strain Stalker.
Uh, Unlike the normal stalker, which is a secondary objective, you will see these guys if you have the predator strain, no matter what.
They replace Chargers, basically.
Except the chargers are still involved.
They do still occasionally pop up, but less so because you have a lot more Predator Strain Stalkers roaming about. And here's the thing. The Stalker's speed and ability, fine as a secondary objective. As a primary opponent, too much. Just too much.
I guess they fulfill their namesake. They are the predator.
All in all, dislike. You need to stagger these things heavily if you want to stay alive on the Predator Strain front.
The only good thing about them is that when you see them in patrols, there's rarely more than one. The bad news, there's rarely more than just one patrol.
Yeah, maybe if you did Predator Strain patrols like 4 Predator Strain Stalkers and nothing else, you might get something out of them. What? You know I'm right.
And so you say.
Anyway, Predator Strain Hunter. Again, this one's actually more pleased out of me. Because here's the thing. Here's what they do. Take your regular hunter, give it a short-range bile attack, and give it cloaking. Ordinarily, this would be a recipe for tearing out your hair. However, this really fits the Predator Strain ethos, and frankly, I enjoy these more than having visible stalkers. I'd rather have invisible stalkers that were weaker from the Predator Strain and really get that feeling of, there is something out there. I know it, and you have to be careful.
They're in the walls. They're in the goddamn walls.
Ah, classic Hudson. So yes, more pleas of these.
Jeez. And now we're on to the gloom. The one.
Or should I say the Spore Strain now? They've broken free of the gloom as of time of recording.
Thing. Ah, yes. But they're still. But I think they're. Well, technically, yeah, but they're still referred to as the gloom.
Yeah. Basically, they burst into spores. They're basically a combination of the Bile Warrior explosion and the Spore Charger's smoke detonation, basically.
The flame was looking freaky as heck for a Terminative.
Yeah, looks like some fungus got onto him or something.
And starting with the gloom scavenger.
All right. Nothing special to say about it. Passable.
And at least put it right next to their cousins, because they're just more of the same.
More of the same, just with a slightly different twist to them. Predator Strain Hunters? No, no.
This is the
Why are
gloom.
you making? Why
This
are
is
you
the
making them explode on death?
this is the gloom hunters. It's so much worse.
They're worse. They're merely tolerable, I would say.
And I'll even put them below the Alpha Commander. Sorry, the Brew Commander.
Yeah, and then on to.
The Gloom Warrior. Oh,
Mm,
actually, no, hang on. Hang on. I forget this. I forget what this one's called.
Spore Burst Warrior.
Yeah, that's it.
Either way, more of the same. I would still rate them as passable but lowly.
It's doing with
I
the
mean, at
hive
least they're not the
guards.
Hive Guard.
Yeah, but that's for now all the terminate enemies. Now we're on to the automatons.
So let's cover the first batch, namely the little guys, the troopers, brawlers, and so forth.
It's
So,
its first up is your average raider.
trooper, but yeah, these are the ones with the fusion rifles, and more please.
Is it's really I kind of even say that a lot of that the little guys are actually just more please out of me.
And frankly, let's put them all on more please, and we'll talk about why.
I'm gonna put this guy higher if only because he's a funny dude to deal with.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes, your classic Jet Brigade warrior there.
the fact that the jet brigade started because of an accident is something that's hilarious to me. We
Mm-hmm.
we buffed up jetpacks. Oh wait, we accidentally buffed up the enemy's jetpacks. Huh.
So, here's why all these little marauders, troopers, commissars, and brawlers are up here. Because here's the thing, the automaton has a lot of big scary war machines, yes? But we don't have anything that's really small, little, relatively co-equal in shooting at us, and they really enhance the atmosphere of fighting. Like, say what you will about a line of devastators, but without those troopers on the flanks that, provide those little suppressing fire that light up the jungles, like, it was the creek all over again, you can understand why they're important for giving that impression of power from the automatons. And frankly, they should really have a faction modifier for their missions that is just more of these, less of the big ones.
And
I don't
honestly,
know how they're gonna buff them up. Maybe like accuracy modifiers or something, make them more accurate in shooting.
give them a couple trooper variants as well, based around unironically making them even better at shooting.
Snipers, shotgunners, the works.
It's and the reasons why the rocket troopers are the best out of all of them is because these guys are actually just funny. Because the main thing is you would think a rocket trooper would be frustrating to fight, except these guys have an accuracy rating of 13%. They can and will miss a shot at you. They're five. You can be 5 feet in front of them, and they will somehow miss you.
I mean, considering they ragdoll you, that's fair enough. But yeah, more of the little guys, please.
But now we're on to the Devastator change, starting with.
Berserker.
Honestly, I like these guys.
I mean, they're enjoyable. They're not. I wouldn't say. I mean, here's the thing. I could say more, please, because I would like to see more bot melee units. But at the same time, I think Berserkers are just a little. They're just not intimidating enough, I think, anymore. Like, your first encounter with them is always going to be a surprise. They are going to run it at you with ease.
And unlike other melee units, these guys know how to zigzag.
They will juke your fire. But
Alright,
honestly, I'll agree with more please. Lowly, but more please. We want more bot melee units.
I think the most terrifying thing about them is when enough of them are around to form a conga line of violence coming at you.
Use your railguns, ladies and gentlemen. They will shut it down.
And just pray they don't come up. Just hurry up before they run up on you. Do the Macarena.
Okay, so
But now we
regular
get to
Devastator.
the regular Devastators. I actually do like.
They kind of fit in that more please paradigm for me because I would like to see more regular Devastator like units with different weapon loadouts.
They're not too overly imposing. They don't have anything special to them. They're just big raider with a fist and a gun.
And there's a beauty in simplicity.
And they will absolutely punch you into the ground and then shoot you dead. Or if you're lucky enough to get trapped between five of them, they will just punch you into the ground.
Enjoy your Hulk smashing gif.
Overall, I rate these guys pretty high.
Yeah. So, on to the Rocket Devastators.
These guys need to be
Oh.
nerfed 3 different ways to become fun to fight.
First off, they had to actually give them an ammo limitation, because beforehand they would just constantly rockets from across the map. They had an accuracy nerf, and
They didn't just need an accuracy nerf. They needed several.
they were a little overtuned.
They had pitch perfect accuracy at first, then slightly less pitch perfect accuracy with a little room for missing, slightly more room for missing, and nowadays, well, you don't fear one Rocket Devastator. You fear 3 of them.
You fear 3 of them going at once, because at least one of those rockets is going to hit you. Honestly, it would be nice if they had, like, I don't know, an extended rocket pack version, maybe?
And even better, just make artillery devastators.
True. But although, nowadays they're passable.
No. I put
You wouldn't, yeah, high, but, they're still relative. There's nothing special to fight, really. They're there.
But now we move on to the Heavy Devastator.
No more.
These passers had little tweaks done to them. Primarily, just making them take a little bit longer to fire in between bursts and have an accuracy debuff. And even with the accuracy debuff, they are obnoxious to fight.
The big problem is mostly their frontal shield, which drastically encourages team play, which is good. Or if you're stuck solo, you have to be really good at hitting the head, which is a skill, or shredding their arm off. But here's the thing, that frontal shield is just obnoxious to fight against. Like we can't get shields that good. Allow us to break those shields, please.
Well, you see, the best shields are reserved for 10-star generals.
10-star super generals to you.
Okay, 10-star super generals. But apparently they don't block melee attacks.
Still. Next up,
we are moving on to the Scout Strider.
these actually did get a new variant, actually, as well. Because here's the thing, you now have Scout Striders without the frontal shield and with the frontal shield.
So basically, they actually now just properly made ATRT.
Yeah, we know that Star Wars is a definite inspiration with the automatons, so honestly, I enjoy these ones. They're a good heavy unit to throw in the mix that isn't another Devastator.
They feel like even more like an intermediate unit. Like they don't have too heavy in armor, but they do have some heavy armor.
Yeah, like they have a heavy front shield.
But
The waist is medium pen, and the legs are now light pen thanks to the introduction of another unit on this list.
Yes.
So you can take them out. It's just a matter of know what you're shooting at, or get good at flanking behind them.
Or just toss a grenade. You see that shield is bullet resistant, but it says nothing about being blast resistant.
All right, but yeah, enjoyable.
Indeed.
I'd like more of these things, but they're not necessary. But not like a high priority want for more.
Yeah. Now we move on to the reinforced Scout Striders, the bane of everyone's existence, even after nerfs.
They are like, I swear they've inherited the RE Hogwarts spirit, and I'm Kennedy. Seriously, the number of times I've been sniped by these things, they have it out for me.
And yeah, it's just that these guys need they had several changes to their rockets first. They had their accuracy just slightly debuffed, and they made the rocket firing a little bit more visible. They increased the amount of time it takes for these things to fire their rockets. They lowered the speed of the rockets, and you could still get domed by these rockets.
Yeah, I mean, to put it into context, I got hit by one of the reinforced Scout Strider rockets. I was the only casualty when that rocket should have killed everyone. They have it out for me.
Maybe you should be where your democracy protects more often.
Yeah, but all in all, they're passable now. Not the best, not the worst.
At the very least, you could shoot their rockets and destroy them altogether, because otherwise, these guys have mostly heavy armor.
Yeah, you're gonna need your anti-tank. You need your heavy stuff to break them down.
Or better yet, maybe you could do with the magic rocket stuff.
Yeah, all in all, I wouldn't say they're higher than the Rocket Devastator.
Which we are, which we are now moving on to the Hulks, starting with the basic Hulk. The def. This is just, I believe this is the Bruiser Hulk, or is that something else?
Bruiser, yeah,
Yeah.
has rockets, has lasers, had laser cannon removed thanks to John Helldiver. Thank you for saving us. And basically, alright. I would personally call these tolerable, if only because they're so oversaturated on the bot front.
You don't see these guys too often.
I mean, I'm more referring to Hulks in general, but yeah, Hulks are oversaturated on the bot front, and they're the reason why you bring a lot of heavy pen stuff.
Just to kill these guys. But at the very least, you have a wide range of anti-tank options to destroy them. Sure, you could just hit them with a recoil to the front. You could also dome their visor with an AMR or a railgun shot.
Or HMG burst.
So you could flank around their sides and get. You can have what? You could blow off their arms and flank around to their sides.
You can get light pen stuff into the vents on their back.
And so at least when it comes down to being an anti-tank, being an option you bring anti-tank for, you have multiple ways of dealing with these guys. They don't to just hit them with the anti-tank and be done.
So yeah, that's that. Then we got the Hulk Obliterator. This is just a special kind of Hulk you see in Kill Hulk objectives. Otherwise, I just kind of wish we see their I just kind of wish we see their design a little more.
Yeah, I call them
But
passable.
passable. They're passable. They're a great introduction to Hulks as an enemy type.
We just want more of these guys.
The Hulk Scorcher.
The bane of my existence. They are. It's like these guys are fat. These guys want to get up in your face and ruin your day.
They have a buzzsaw that will fairly reliably instantly kill you if you get too close because they give you a smack with it. They have a flamethrower that will set you on fire.
And that flamethrower has a pretty good shot of setting you on fire, so you will be diving immediately, which is almost certainly a trap that this thing can then follow up with a buzzsaw.
All in all, I would still call this tolerable. Like, at the end of the day, you can fight them. They're just, They're pretty low tolerable, I would say, especially because you see these things a lot at higher difficulties.
Yeah. But like,
they're oversaturated.
At the very least, though, at least the Scorcher Hulk knows to stop us from stop, drop, and rolling.
What's next?
The War Strider, the most recent addition to the Automaton's arsenal.
And they are quite tough. They have a very narrow waist joint you can destroy for a quick kill, but otherwise, they take a lot of punishment actually, and in a kind of good way.
They shake up the normal routine because even with like not to mention they also take more than one recoilless shot.
Yeah, they take more than one recoilless shot, but they're also not so devastating that it's too much of a pain problem that they take so much firepower.
They got two medium guns and a bunch of grenades that they just constantly launch at you.
So yeah, they were an excellent urban warfare machine, and honestly, more like these, please. I want to see more intermediate mechs.
Yeah, because they feel like a nice shake-up rather than just another tank. Which, speaking of
tanks, you don't see too many of them nowadays.
They used to be around a lot, but
ever since the Factory Strider, the War Strider, there's been a lot more heavy options on the field, and I think they need a tank faction to get them back into play.
Yeah, cool.
Especially because, here's the thing, these tanks are actually a fun shake-up because they're a fun little piece of armor to shake up your day. You need to get around to the back if you want to deal with fairly lighter stuff, like heavy machine gun and the like. But if you have proper anti-tank, spear, recoilless, and so forth, you can consistently fight these and have fun with them. And there are three main tank variants.
And
The Annihilator, the best.
this
I would call this one pretty enjoyable to fight. Cannon, a bunch of machine guns,
the
pretty
Shredder tank.
decent. I would call this one. The Shredder tank is the quad autocannon one, and that one is passable. I would say it doesn't feel as imposing as it was before. Before it was an anti-aircraft tank repurposed to kill infantry. Nowadays, you rarely if ever get caught in their array of fire. And the barrage tank. You see, on introduction, they were excellent. They were an excellent way to dislodge Helldivers from in-trench positions. Nowadays,
Yeah, they're usually
you
gone very well
rarely
at their
see
shot
these
most.
things fire because most people are kind of conditioned to kill these things on sight. And they're also ridiculously vulnerable with their medium penetration rockets at the front and back. Like seriously, you could dump the machine gun down the front of it and kill it. It's embarrassing.
At the very least, I could say this: all the tanks are recognizable both by the way they fire and by their visual designs. But I feel like
Mm.
what they need really is just more of these tanks at once.
Like if you're gonna make an armored push, make it like free annihilators in front, backed up by a shredder in the back, and a barrager further back for artillery firing.
Two Baroctors to be safe.
Yeah, that'll work. Make it a big heavy armor push that will probably give some people some memories.
He's and who knows? Maybe one day we get that armored faction when we get our own tank.
Mm-hmm. But all in all, Annihilator enjoyable, Shredder passable, Barrager low passable.
It, but for no fall, I feel that these two wind up impassable, but of like their own design. It's just you don't see them as often, or in the case of the barrage tank, players kill this thing instantly.
Basically, they don't really make too much of an impact on the battlefield nowadays, so that's why they're only impassable, because they are fun to fight once they get going, but rarely do they get going.
And that's sad. But now we start with one of the very first automaton's new unit, the Factory Strider.
Ah, yes, the big dog. Everyone knows them, everyone calls them AT-ATs. They drop off Devastators, they have two Gatling guns in front, they have a cannon on the back, and they even have a new variant as well. One that ditches the cannon for extra Devastator deployment time.
And you know what? I like these guys.
Ultimately, I would say more please. I want more big units
It's
to
it,
tear apart.
that they're massive, they're big, they tank several shots, and like the only way to take these things down in one shot is to get their neck, which is a very narrow window to hit.
Requires a good flank. Like, head turning one way, you're on the other end, neck joint very exposed, put the recoilers in there, and you're done. Otherwise, toss a pyrotechnic at their feet, defang them, get a heavy armor penetration gun straight up the underside of their gut, or maybe destroy a leg. You have a lot of options for removing it off the field. It's all a matter of which option you can take.
Exactly. So you know, Factory Strikers, we're on to the Factory Striker with a stratagem jammer on top of it.
I would call it a stratagem scrambler. It's not a proper jammer. But either way, it's much like the Illuminate's cognitive
Pocket Disruptor.
disruptor, where essentially it will scramble your stratagem inputs and the name of them if you're not familiar with the icon. All in all, not too much of a hassle. It's honestly okay. I would like to see these in missions as a drop. Maybe like on D10, they occasionally drop in.
It's like, yeah, these guys are otherwise regulated to the convoy interception mission type,
Where
which
they
is a
basically
side
serve as
input.
a reason to not stay too close to the convoy in stealth and then pop out the woodworks because they'll scramble your stratagems. But yeah, that's that.
You call these guys actually low enjoyable.
Yeah, low-key enjoyable.
And now we're on to the gunships.
More, please. I would like to see more air units in general.
And they're actually pretty fun with how they dance about. And you got a couple, and your options are somewhat more limited in terms of dealing with them, but they're also a lot fun with how to deal with them.
You can drop Scorcher weapons fire on them, or the Purifier. Epoch will work, AMR work, Flak from the Airburst, Heavy Machine Gun. There's a lot of options available to take him down.
Hell, even a senator could shoot these things down.
Yeah, if you're a big Iron fan. So yeah,
The next we're up
it'll
are
work.
the next up we're on to what this thing is based off of, the automaton dropship, and
Eh, passable, tolerable even.
I'd say tolerable. Shooting them down is
Like,
really not worth it.
it's really not worth it nowadays because nowadays a bot dropping off its cargo is not necessarily much of a problem as it was before. Like, back in the old days, shooting down a bot drop was invaluable.
It,
Saved you some much needed time and punishment.
even if you didn't destroy the cargo, you at least stop them from moving.
Mm. Or, if you got it after the cargo dropped, you might just get it, so it's given some crush damage and all that.
Yeah.
But nowadays, they're just there. Nobody really bothers shooting them down.
Only the sentries make an active effort at shooting them down.
And even then, the sentries are ineffective. So that's sort of the sad truth, is that automaton dropships, they lack character now.
Maybe they dropped more for. Maybe they expand the cargo capacity so they dropped more.
Then you got more of I don't know, some sort of heavy dropship with difficulty 8 and above.
Like that, we were talking something that drops off 2 tanks in one go.
Hmm Or a whole batch of devastators, or even potential, or even look big enough that it could plausibly carry a factory strider.
I mean, the dropships already carry factory striders.
I know, but have you seen them? They look tad silly.
Well, yeah, but look. Okay,
Ah,
now then, the bane of veterans and newbies alike, the contact mine.
Here's the thing about the contact mine. Is it a nice little trap in the front base that you can obviously walk around if you have eyes in front of your face? Yes. Can you blow up these mines easily? Yes. They will still murder you when you forget about them in the middle of a heated firefight because you can't afford to look where you're going when you've got a whole gaggle of heavy devastators bound on you and you need the cover now.
And
Honestly,
more, please,
I
honestly, for me.
want. Honestly, I would like more of these things. I would like to have more mines and more static traps on the battlefield.
I think what this thing is that it's ultimately an equalizer.
Yeah, it blows up bots if they step on it. But at the same time, they blow you up if they step on it, and they're the grand equalizer of many debates about skill.
And it's because anyone can admit to just saying that we've had our times of stepping on a contact mine that should have been extremely obvious.
hmm So yeah, more static traps on the battlefield, please. Like the contact mine rather than the spore mine.
Which brings us to the next defense. It's your average machine gun turret.
Okay, pass.
I feel it need to be improved overall with just making the automatons a little bit more heavy fortification focused.
Yeah, need some improvements to make it feel a bit more of a threat to be lit up by a bunch of gun turrets because usually most people just shoot these on sight now.
But we're talking
There's
about
not much to be gained by moving them for your benefit, and you usually want to deny them to the enemy.
Maybe like a fortress type that's kind of like resemblance of the Atlantic Wall on D-Day. So you get moments like that, where it's just a veritable line of guns that while they may not be hitting and killing you instantly, they are suppressing the absolute hell out of you.
As always, the potential. So yeah.
Next up is the slower firing auto turret.
Which is basically the penetration version of the Gatling, and for that is actually worse because it doesn't have enough the fire rate, it doesn't have the power, it's just an awkward balance all around.
I kind of say this thing is just dislikable.
Yeah, further down dislikable if so inclined.
Yeah, it could be a lot better.
It could be better. It could be worse.
And next up is the auto turret.
Out. Throw that out.
No, and here's why: the cannon tower.
Is a better version of it. Yes, the cannon tower is a better thing than something else in the game
Consider this.
because at least it has an obvious visual cue when it's about to fire on you, so you have time to dodge out the way.
Hey,
That auto cannon turret will just light you up, and that's a reinforced gun.
at the very least with this thing, because it shares the same problem as the other thing, but the cannon tower, yeah, it's just a lot more obvious when it's about to kill you. Yeah, because these things will give no indication it's attacked you until it's turning to meet you.
Or, and there's also the fact that the cannon tower has an obvious weak point on the back, whereas the turret on the back, you kind of have to make the connection between the shredder turret weakness and the autocannon design in order to make the similar weak point association of if it's at the back, medium pen or heavy pen at the back.
Yep. As for the cannon towers, I call these ones,
Tolerable.
yeah, not high on the tolerable list, but they're there.
They're rare. You can at least respect them getting killed by a cannon tower.
Next up, the AA turret.
Pretty good, all things considered, as a secondary objective. Forces anyone who relies too much on eagles to change their stratagem, but if you use orbitals, well, you're fine. Just drop it in.
And on orbital 120 barrage inbound. Stand clear.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do feel like there should be more. I think these objectives need a wider area of effect, honestly, to really start emphasizing the fact that they suppress Eagle 1 from operating normally.
There is the rare chance nowadays that if you throw Eagle 1 while AA is active, the AA can shoot her and force her to return to the Super Destroyer.
Mm-hmm. At least that's the suspected theory, because here's the thing. It's a fun little way to introduce that element of chance into the battlefield, but I feel like the element of chance needs expanding upon. More AA, please.
Indeed. Next up is the command bunker.
Yeah, this is tad unbearable because you can't really stand up in front of it without getting blown 6 ways to Sunday. And normally, if you don't have orbital barrages or get eagles, you need to hammer it with your anti-tank weapons to open up a little area, a little slice of the pie where it can't shoot at you, to drop a hell bomb and blow it up.
This thing is why portable. This thing is why we need portable hell bombs.
Because it makes it so much easier to just run up, and if you die, it's still going up in flames anyway.
Okay.
So what next?
Next up is the Eye of Sauron.
Also known as the Detect Tower, but if you say Sauron, people will understand what you're saying. This thing summons bot drops. It's just the bots drop summon ad nauseum, basically.
And honestly, I love this thing.
I mean, striking visuals, useful battlefield function. There's a reason that a Detector Tower still gets your fear instincts going up, even if, it's not the worst days now. It's not like there will be enough bot drops to blot out the sun.
Every time
So, no.
But if you close your eyes, I can hear that horn. Please get me out.
So, no. More, please. It's a good secondary.
Yeah, I put this pretty high too. Like,
Yeah.
about a year, really.
Yeah, that's it.
Which brings us to warning: you're in range of enemy artillery.
Unbearable. If only because why can't the ship guy just ship operations off? Just please shut up. We know about this. We are being shelled out over here. We don't need notifying whenever another Helldiver walks in range of this thing.
The real reason you destroy the mortar replacement is not to stop the mortar shells, but to stop the voice lines.
That's just the problem. So, Jet Brigade Marauder this time.
I mean, honestly, more please.
Same again. More, please.
Honestly, I think I'd put the entire Jet Brigade under more please. They are perfect.
They're an excellent shake up of the faction dichotomy.
And these guys can just jump in front of your face and make your day worse, including the jump pack Hulk.
Which, yes, can do a Highlander burial on you. So yeah, Jet Brigade. 10 out of 10. No notes to make beyond this point.
It's, but now we're to the incineration core, the bane of everyone's existence.
Well, the Marauder is pretty fun because, flamethrower, etc.
The funniest thing is that the
And they do
flamethrower is
actually have a Rocket Devastator variant, a Rocket Marauder variant too.
which just shoots
One that trades out the rockets for essentially a bot quasar cannon.
and unfortunately, its accuracy has not gotten any better.
However, it's also missing from this tier list, in fact, so guess what? That's something to this tier list to rectify.
Actually, I
It's
know how. Let me see if I can't rectify it myself.
We've got time.
Yeah, true.
So, but take our word for it. It's more please, like everything else.
But now we're on to the conflagration devastators.
No more.
Take the problems with the heaviest devastator and multiply that with either incendiary shots or the goddamn Jaka one-shotting you anyways.
And yeah, that's just pain. Pain. You want to know what it's like to have the breaker incendiary used on you? Go fight the incineration corpse.
And unfortunately for everybody involved, they're getting a lot more involved in the major orders.
The Jet Brigade is taking time out.
And you know what? They deserve it. They deserve the vacation.
Mm-hmm. But then we have the Incendiary Rocket Devastator, which is okay. It's just a reskin of the regular Devastator, in my opinion.
And you already shoot a rocket devastator as fast as you shoot this thing.
So no different, really. It's the one Devastator that escapes the but it's tolerable because the incendiary factor makes it a bit more shall we say, it does not make it fun. It's just there.
And for those of you wondering,
And the
no,
fire
we're not.
bombers.
For those of you wondering, no, we're not recording this late. This is extremely early for both of us.
Mm-hmm. Fire bomber, no more. This mortar is too much.
It's like taking the Scorcher Hulk and then giving it another, and then making it even come, and then it's running up on you even more aggressively.
Because it has a mortar that will bomb you, and it will have the flamethrower to soften you up afterwards. Just don't go near it unless you've got fireproof armor.
Or your John Helldiver.
Anyway, next one.
Actually, that's it for the automatons. We're now on to the Illuminate.
Who are the smallest faction in the game, although not for a bad reason. They were actually introduced live.
But
So the Voteless. More.
Yeah, honestly, for a small faction, their roster is almost consistently good.
Like, they do show the benefit of being made through experience as the game's developed. Like, the Flesh Mob is, okay, a bit obnoxious, unbearable even at times, because here's the thing. The Illumins don't have enough intermediate units to diminish the number of Flesh Mobs to make them special.
And the Flesh
But
Mob
that's not really a fault of the Flesh Mob design, it's a fault of the faction roster being limited.
So, in a Void, I'd say the Flesh Mobs are passable, high passable, or low enjoyable.
High passable. They could be tweaked.
Yeah, they could be better.
But if you take into account the fact they're oversaturated, they go straight down to unbearable.
Yeah. Next up is the Watcher, and honestly, I like the Watcher as a concept because it means controlling the Watchers controls the flow of enemies.
However, this is the power of good and evil. In the evil side of things, it means if you're too good at destroying Watchers, guess what? You've kind of robbed the fun of the Lumen that drops out of your drop. But if you're not so good, you can easily get overwhelmed. So I would personally say dislikable. They need some tuning.
Yeah. It doesn't help that they're extremely obvious when they're about to. It doesn't help that they're extremely obvious because of their bisexual lighting.
Being the blue and purple. So yes. Next up is the Overseer. More, please.
Yeah.
I just want more. I just want more person-sized foes to shoot, please.
These guys are pretty. The only frustrating thing is about these guys is their two-tap combo if you get into melee with them. Which, if they get into melee with you, you're already gonna have a bad time.
Unless you specifically prepare for it with a stun lance, for example.
Yeah, and a shield. A shield that blocks
Mm-hmm.
melee.
So ballistic shield, stun lance, maybe the one true flag, maybe an axe if you're feeling a little bit bold and have peak physique running.
And just prepare. And you're just running to meet your ancestors in Valhalla.
Mm-hmm. What next?
Next up is the Crescent Overseers, and honestly, I like these guys.
They're all right. They're a nice little artillery unit that means that you get some suppressing fire coming your way from mortar strikes, but
They aren't the most noticeable on the damage side of things. It's just they need at least four. They need at least three. They need at least three Crescent Overseers in order for their artillery fire to become really noticeable.
once it does, it's noticeable that your position is under siege.
It's overall, I call these guys enjoyable.
Yeah.
But now we get to like the easily my least favorite enemy, the Crescent, the Elevated Overseer.
The elevated. They have a plasma rifle with 3-shot bursts. They fly.
They throw
And here's the thing:
grenades.
if they keep missing, they're okay. If they start getting good and aiming well, they just light you up like that. I would like to see more overseers with ranged weapons like the elevated, but I don't need them flying at the same time.
Give us some Sniper Overseers. You heard me. Make these things snipe.
We did have the hunters in the Great Galactic War, after all.
You know what? Here, I'll even say this right now. Arrowhead, if you make a Sniper Overseer variant, then my life is yours. I will dedicate another 200 hours to Helldivers 2.
So, should we just call these tolerable then?
Low tolerable. Like, even below the cannon tower.
Mm-hmm. The Harvester. No notes. Excellent design.
I need more, please.
Yeah, more please. We need more illuminated heavies.
And like, even for a heavy, it's extremely well designed. It has a shield that can be taken that force soaks up shots. It has pylons on it that are medium pen, or complete with vulnerable legs, and obviously the head's heavy pen. It's something that every one of the team can contribute to taking down.
Even someone who's doing a pure light pen build can strip the shields off very quickly.
And if someone has a flamethrower, they can actually deal damage to this thing. And people who are on a laser cannon are especially going to have a good time with this thing.
They've got enough ammo to burn through the shield, then burn a leg off. Yeah, all in all, enjoyable. More please.
Even better than the Bile Titan.
Yeah, you always notice when a harvest is on the field.
Somehow, in a rare instance, despite the ground shaking, somebody, somehow, can get snuck up on by a Bile Titan.
Mm-hmm. There is no missing a harvester, especially with that blue beam. And hey, you can even destroy the little horns to stop their shield from regenerating.
Well, as fast.
No, it is a flash stop.
Huh. Good to know. Next up, the I'm sorry, I mean the Stingray. It's always been called the Stingray. It's never been called the Interloper. I swear it's never been called the Interloper.
It's the interloper.
Yeah.
Basically, for context, it was called interloper in tagging, but now it's been steadily confirmed as the Stingray. Either way, more please. I want more air assets, and having these strafing runs really ups the tempo of an Illuminate mission.
And honestly, I say these are the best aerial unit in the game.
They fly around, they have limited windows to attack, which is both their weakness and their strength. They don't hang around too often like the gunships, and unlike the Shriekers, they come in just enough that they're dangerous, but they're not so much as overwhelming.
Because,
At most, you're facing off like two at a time, but those two can do crossfires, and that's just a bad time.
but the thing is that crossfire is at least an interesting tactic because it only makes sense. The Stinger will spend a lot of time flying around the air because it's searching for the proper angle of attack to run on you. And with two of these things, they're priming to trap you in. And they're honestly maybe the smartest enemy in this game.
Mm-hmm. Exactamundo. More smart enemies, please.
Next up, the Leviathan. If you're on Super Earth, you know these things.
They killed you a lot on Super Earth. Nowadays, they've been a bit defanged for my taste, but they're still okay, low tolerable. Especially because you can now easily hunt them down with if you're a little bit of a Captain Ahab. And it got an AT in place with a shield generator and, 5 minutes to kill, just killing Leviathans. They are better than the Scorchhawks. Because at least there are map modifiers, so they're not necessarily.
Guaranteed spawn, and they only spawn on mega city maps.
They do spawn out in colony maps too.
Good to know. Next up is the Illuminate dropship.
Which is okay. I would probably even say it's worse than the bot dropship nowadays, because here's the thing. It's shielded, so you have to strip off the shield first even, and you have a very narrow window to shoot it down.
I feel
So
like
all in all,
I feel like they could
it's just
I feel like they could trade off them having a shield for just increasing their numbers.
mm, maybe give them a larger cargo bay, but it gives them a longer opportunity to be shot at, which would almost like make it deploy in pulses, I suppose. First the Faultless, then the Overseers, etc.
Yeah. Like they deploy basically steadily in waves as opposed to dropping everything at once. And honestly, that could really spice up the high value asset extract missions.
Yeah, would be interesting.
You're given equal encouragement to shoot these things down and clear up their chaff.
Because the chaff are still going to pile up if you don't focus on them, but if you don't shoot them down, they'll drop the heavy stuff too. That'd be an interesting trade-off, Cotton. Let's see how it works.
Indeed. Next up is, well, just the Illuminate dropships, but now they're deployed.
Very your little outposts and fabricators and the like.
Honestly, I like these things. They're
Honestly, they shook things up because here's the thing: your bug holes, basic, throw grenades, get a grenade launcher. They're just kind of basic. The Battle Titan holes require a heavy firepower, like orbital precision strikes, portable hell bomb, light to close up in one shot. Otherwise, it takes multiple grenades. But these things, strip shield, toss grenade, move on. It's more involved. But at the
no,
same time, if you know which stratagems do the damage, like orbital precision, gas strike, or any of the barrages, you can clean them out with some efficiency.
yeah, I feel like the only downside to the dropships is that their outposts are not so big as, or don't number any more than like 3 at best.
So you don't really have many things coming out of them.
And I wanted the D10 Illuminate outpost to just basically be 6 of these things.
Yeah, 6 of these things, maybe add a little monolith in the center. Who knows?
Yeah, but I'd say more, please.
More.
They're honestly one of the best.
They're a good example of outpost design. I think, and I don't know. Maybe they should get some different fabric. Maybe they should get some different things out there.
Yeah. Next up, the Illuminate Overseer, and honestly, more, please.
Excellent objective. It would be nice if the overship actually took part in the fight, like, occasionally mark sections for cannon fire and the like.
They making it
That'd be
imperative
fun.
the why this thing needs to be shot down.
Yeah, it would make it a main objective that actively threatens you, and you are encouraged to get it done as quick as possible.
Which also occurs is why you should shoot the holes.
Yes, because here's the thing. It takes 3 shots generally, but I think it's a little better if you get it in the holes first try, basically.
But it makes sense because you're just shooting right into the ship itself.
rather than just trying to smack it somewhere else and hope the cannon shell does the damage.
This honestly, the overship is just straight Covenant ship vibes.
Mm-hmm. Whatever next? Does Arrowhead figure out the secret of a boarding mission?
I mean, that'd be awesome. I'd be down for it. We even get to do like transition for it. You can do transition for it. We're like riding Pelican 1 to the objective.
Mm-hmm. That'll be fun. But we'll see what Arrowhead cook.
Next up is the Illuminate Tesla Tower.
The reason Arc Resist exists. And other than protection against friendly fire. So, all tolerable. Like, they're fun, but they require explosives or some good aim to take them down.
Yeah, they're not my favorite.
They're not a favorite. The Gazer, however,
This is a favorite of mine.
that is a good base defense. More please.
Yeah. Next up, the Cog Destructor. This is single-handedly one of the best secondary objectives in this game.
Yeah, it's evolved. You gotta shoot up 4 generators to destroy the tower. It's decently defended too, so you won't necessarily be able to quickly do it unless you're willing to accept death. And it scrambles stratagems, which means, hey, you have to be... which means sometimes it makes it easier for you, sometimes it makes it harder for you. It depends. It messes with your muscle memory, which is an interesting way to represent Illuminate mind control. All in all, best secondary objective by far on this list.
It's an improvement on the autonomous electronic countermeasures.
RAP electric countermeasures, for those of you who don't know, electric countermeasures meant that when you dialed a stratagem, you were given a random one instead. Sometimes it would just mean you get a different piece of gear. Sometimes it means you threw it out blindly and you realize, oh no, I accidentally called in my 380. I just blew everyone up.
And this was back
It
before
was
the 380
funnish. It was novel, but it wasn't consistently fun to deal with.
Yeah.
It was good for a laugh. But I think with some encouragements, I think it could return in a different format.
Indeed. So now
Last but not least, the monolith. More please. I want more weird alien objectives like this that you can interact with them, you might learn something different, you might just die to unknowable forces. All in all, would be nice.
And that
So,
is it.
that is the enemy list. Let's talk hypotheticals then. So, obviously a fourth faction would be a pipe dream at this point. The Illuminates need fleshing out. There's always going to be more expansions to the automatons and the Terminids. But if we were to do a fourth faction, what do you think would be a good top 3 to list out as ideas?
So, obviously, first off is Insurgents. Proper Insurgents. Focus on the range game.
Yeah, dissidents. Proper distance, proper range game, very much sort of focused on range, and focus on that classic Super Earth is now fighting itself, because, well, this is Super Earth after all. There are always going to be people who are disloyal to the way of life. And with these maximum security prisons that we were trying to build security prisons, I mean cities. Do not worry, that was a mere misstep, Ministry of Truth. I would say it's likely. It's probably brewing. But here's the thing. What else lurks out there? It would be interesting to meet an alien empire, for example, one that's a little more I would sort of say technologically advanced, but not necessarily the sort of, high-end science of the Illuminate. Almost a peer, if you see what I mean. And not necessarily the automatons.
Yeah, I was thinking like a peer faction that would compete with the Super Earth actually directly.
and they do want to burn down Super Earth, but it's a slow, grinding war of attrition. We have the Illuminate, who are more raiders, maneuver, so on and so forth, but what if we have someone that tries and matches us? That would be fun. A proper alien empire to fight against.
Which actually was my last. It actually would be my last suggestion. An ancient alien empire that we accidentally awoken.
Or maybe perhaps something a little more. Or maybe perhaps they figure out hybrid factions instead. Because there's always questions of what happens if we have multiple enemy types on the field. I would say we are never likely to see this. Arrowhead is not happy with the AI performance on such maps. Although, I still think Arrowhead underestimate the reliability of their systems at times. I think it would be fun to experiment with, at least on the live. But if they couldn't do that, why not hybridize enemies? Make a bug faction that has characteristics of the bots, or a bot faction with characteristics of the bugs. You know, some special designs, some unique twists that represent what happens when the two are working. When two or even more factions are working together. Because let's face it, they're going to work together at this point. They all agree that Super Earth must burn, and so we're going to have to show them that our way of life is superior. And I think that's a fun little hypothetical roundup. Although, very well then, let's call it here.
Here, I hope everyone enjoyed this list, and if you had any thoughts, please let us know in any way you want to.
Alrighty.
Goodbye.
Malif signing off. See you around.
See ya.